So thank you all for being here. You may know this already, but just a reminder that this practice is invitational. So if something does not feel supportive for what you need tonight, please don't do it. You know your body best. You know what you need better than anyone else. So we begin this practice lying on our backs in Supta Baddha Konasana. So if you have a pillow or a block nearby, you can set that about halfway down your mat, and then begin finding your way onto your back. Soles of the feet will come together, and knees can splay open to either side. Letting your hands fall where is comfortable, whether that be on the ground, maybe on the belly or the heart, to connect more with yourself. And take some time to arrive here. Maybe begin noticing your breath. Noticing your inhales and your exhales. And if it's comfortable for you, you can begin to close down your eyes or soften your gaze. And continue breathing here. Imagining sending the breath a little deeper into your belly, filling up with a little more air. And when you exhale, letting your belly soften a little closer towards your spine. Continuing to breathe like this. Tonight's practice falls on the new moon in Scorpio, so I won't go super deep into that, but this time is really asking us to turn inwards, to examine and explore the depths of our emotions, to explore our shadows and maybe some hidden truths. And all of that can be really intense. And so I'll offer this practice a theme of self-compassion. And so what that might look like is, how can we be even more gentle with ourselves in this practice through our movements? Can we have more compassion for the way we talk to ourselves? And getting curious about the language we use when we speak to ourselves. Having compassion for our bodies, their needs, and knowing that the postures that we move through will look different on every body. And so we'll keep returning to this idea of self-compassion throughout this practice. Continuing to breathe here, deep inhales, filling up through your belly, through your heart. And exhale, let it all go. inhale, maybe feeling your belly expand as you take in air. And exhale, belly softens towards spine. Your next inhale, we'll go for a gentle spinal twist. So maybe using your hand to help carry your left leg up and over so that it rests on top of your right leg. Both knees pointing towards the right side. Maybe your arms come out to the side. And you could take your gaze to the left. And breathe where you land. If your knees are sort of hanging in the air, you can stick a block or a pillow underneath them to bring the ground a little bit closer to you. Your next inhale, coming back into Supta Baddha Konasana, both knees open to either side. On your exhale, carrying the right knee up and over for a spinal twist on the other side, both knees facing the left this time. And again, you have the option to stick a yoga block or a pillow underneath your bottom knee to bring the floor a little bit closer to you. You might gaze towards the right. Maintaining those deep belly breaths. On your next inhale, right knee carries up and over, coming back into Supta Baddha Konasana. And on your exhale, hugging both knees into your chest, maybe giving a little rock from side to side, massaging out your low back. From here, we'll plant the feet about hip distance apart, knees pointing towards the ceiling, feet directly in front of us. Hands are down by the sides. You can grab for your yoga block or a pillow or two. And we'll begin pressing into the feet such that the pelvis begins tipping upwards. Keep lifting your hips only high enough so that you can slide a yoga block or a pillow underneath your sacrum. So that bony part at the base of our spine. If you're using a yoga block, I ask that you keep it on the lowest height to support the width of your spine. From here, we'll begin hugging the right knee in towards the chest. You may need to adjust your yoga block a little bit so that it feels most supportive of your low back. And from here, we'll begin extending out the left leg long onto the mat. By having this pillow or yoga block underneath our sacrum, we might get a little more opening in the top of the left hip. In your inhales, you can imagine lengthening out that left leg even further. And on your exhales, you can gently hug that right knee a little closer to your heart. If at any point this feels too intense, you can always remove the pillow or yoga block and lay flat on your mat. Maybe you roll out your ankle, circling it one way and then the other. Your next inhale, filling up, inviting more length into that left leg. As we exhale, we'll begin carrying that right knee more to the side. So drawing it a little closer to our armpit as opposed to our heart. Inviting just a little bit more opening in both hips now. Breathe wherever you are. Your next inhale, drawing that right knee back towards your chest. And as you exhale, releasing it down to the floor, hugging your left knee in towards your chest. And staying here, or you can begin straightening out that right leg so that it is long in front of you. You can invite some ankle circles again, getting out any cracks. And using your breath to go deeper into this posture. Feeling an opening on the top of that right hip. On your next inhale, getting nice and long through that right leg. On your exhale, gently carrying that left knee closer to your left armpit. Opening now in both hips. Sending your breath to any places that may feel tense or tight. Your next inhale, drawing your knee back towards your chest. As you exhale, planting that left foot, planting the right foot. Knees about hip distance apart, pointing up towards the ceiling. We'll begin pressing into our feet again. Imagine you're sliding your toes under a rug to begin tilting our pelvis up just enough so that you can slide your yoga block or your pillow out to the side, lowering your hips back onto the mat, and hugging your knees in again, little rock side to side. When you feel ready, you can begin giving a little rock up and down the length of your spine, maybe holding on to the underside of your thighs, making your way eventually into a seated position, doing what is comfortable for you with your legs, whether they be cross-legged or out in front of you. Wherever you are, find a long spine. So ribs stacking on top of hips, shoulders stacking on top of ribs, and head stacking on top of shoulders. Take one more breath here. Inhale, filling up, getting nice and long. And as you exhale, really settle into this shape, grounding into your sits bones. Your next inhale, you can take right ear to right shoulder. We'll take some head circles here, so gently letting your head fall forward, chin towards your chest. Then stopping when your left ear arrives at your left shoulder. Inhale, filling up here. As you exhale, chin back towards the chest. And so we'll take these half neck circles. If it's comfortable for you to do a full neck circle and you know that's what you prefer, you can go ahead and do that. Otherwise, I invite you to stick with these half circles to avoid more of a crunching in the back of the neck. That's not always good for the vertebrae, so if it's something that you enjoy doing or that feels good in your body, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, these half circles are where you can be. Going at your own pace here, moving with your breath. Maybe you start to invite some intuitive movement here, exploring different movements with the neck, really working into all areas, any creases or areas of tension that you feel. Maybe tilting your chin up and down. Explore what would feel good in your body. On your next inhale, making your way into a tabletop position, coming onto your hands and knees, and keep moving here. Whether you want to move through cat and cow or stick with the intuitive movement, it is your choice. Listen to your body, but making sure that our foundation is nice and strong. Hands about shoulder distance apart, knees about hip distance apart. And keep moving with your breath. If you're moving through cat and cow, inhaling when your belly drops and exhaling when you round through your spine. Maybe you take this time to stretch a bit into the wrists by flipping the fingertips towards your knees. But know that wherever you are, whatever your body is asking you to do, by listening to your body, that is an act of self-compassion. By not judging the movements that your body wants to do, that is an act of self-compassion. In your next inhale, we'll all meet up in cow, so belly drops, gaze lifts towards the horizon. On your exhale, rounding through your spine to cat, really pressing through your hands and your knees. We'll do 2 more together. Inhale as your shoulders roll down your spine, belly drops, gaze lifts. As you exhale, rounding your spine, gazing inwards. 1 more like that. Inhale to cow. And exhale, curving to cat. Your next inhale, coming back to neutral tabletop. And on your exhale, bringing the big toes to touch, maybe walking your knees a little bit wider than your hips and sinking your hips back towards your heels, coming into child's pose. So walking your hands in front of you, extended out long. Forehead can rest on your mat. The wider you take your knees, the more room you will have for your belly and for your breath. The more room you will have in your hips. So if you are feeling pretty tight, the wider you walk your knees out to either side, the more comfortable you may find this posture. You also have the option here to stick a pillow between the backs of your thighs and your shins for a little extra support. Breathe here when you inhale, feeling your belly rise against your thighs. Exhale as you soften towards the ground. Your next inhale, walking the hands over to the right side, letting your forehead rest back onto the ground, opening into the left side body. Left hip continues to sink towards the left heel. On your next inhale, walking your hands back through center and over to the left side, resting your forehead and opening into the right side body. Actively sinking your right hip towards that right heel to get a deeper opening in the right side of the body. On your next inhale, walking your hands back to center, and exhale, sinking down into child's pose. On your next inhale, we'll begin pressing into the palms, rolling up through cat with our spine. And as we exhale, cow tilt of the pelvis, hips sink back to child's pose. And we'll do that a few more times. So inhale, really pressing into the palms, waving your spine forward and up through cat. And exhale, waving your hips back, cow tilt of the pelvis, coming back into child's pose. So we're moving like water here. The flow never stops. Inhale, pressing into the palms, waving forward. And exhale, hips sink you back to child's pose. We'll add on here. So inhale, rolling forward through cat. And this time as you exhale, tuck your toes. Begin lifting your knees, lifting your hips, coming into downward facing dog or Adho Mukha Svanasana. So hands are still about shoulder distance apart. Fingers are nice and wide, really pressing into the thumb and middle finger, or pointer finger, excuse me, especially to take weight out of the wrists. Feet are hip distance apart or wider. You can keep a nice bend in your knees. The deeper you bend in the knees, the more room you will have in your spine. And at any point, you can come out of this and meet back in child's pose. But breathe here. And on your next inhale, we'll do that same waving forward motion, only now we're starting in down dog. So waving forward through your spine, coming into a high plank. And as you exhale, dropping the knees down, cow tilt of the pelvis, sinking the hips towards the heels. On your inhale, waving forward through cat, rounding through the spine. And as you exhale, cow tilt of the pelvis lifts you up and back to downward facing dog. Reconnect with the breath here. This may feel really unfamiliar or uncomfortable, and so can you practice that self-compassion? Can you be kind as your body moves through unfamiliar shapes? Can you use kind and supportive language with how you talk to yourself here? On your inhale, we'll wave forward again, coming into high plank. And as you exhale, knees touch down, cow tilt of the pelvis, hips towards heels. Inhale, waving forward to cat. And exhale as your hips lift you up and back, coming into downward facing dog. We'll do that one more time, waving forward one vertebrae at a time into high plank. And exhale, knees drop, cow tilt of the pelvis, hips towards heels. You can untuck your toes, and on your inhale, sitting back onto your heels. If this is really intense on the tops of your feet, you can sit on a pillow, or you can place a pillow underneath your thighs for a little extra support. On your next inhale, we'll raise the arms towards the sky. And exhale, we'll cactus the arms. bending 90 degrees at the elbows, maybe lifting your heart a little bit forwards and up. Maybe your gaze goes with it. And your inhale, straightening out through the spine and through the arms. And exhale, cactus the arms, heart shines forward. Inhale, arms straighten, spine straightens. And exhale, cactusing the arms, baby back bend here. Your next inhale, straightening through the arms. And exhale, coming back into a tabletop position. Tucking the toes and lifting the hips up and back, downward facing dog. So we'll move through the same waving of the spine a few more times. And so we've done it a few times already. So maybe here you close down your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And really feel into this movement, thinking less about it and feeling as your body does it. On our inhale, we'll wave forward, one vertebrae at a time, coming into high plank. And exhale, knees drop, cow tilt of the pelvis, hips sink towards heels, child's pose. Inhale, pressing into the palms, waving forward through cat. And exhale, hips lift you up and back, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Waving forward, rippling like water. Exhale, knees drop, sinking back into child's pose. Your inhale, coming forward, rolling through cat. And as you exhale, hips lift you up and back, downward facing dog. We'll do this just one more time. Waving forward, really lubricating the spine, coming through to high plank. And exhale, knees drop, hips sink towards heels, child's pose. Your next inhale, untucking the toes, sitting back once more onto your heels. And exhale, bringing your hands to your heart. Maybe you close down your eyes or soften your gaze. Reconnect with the breath here. Maybe you tell yourself something kind and loving. And gently blinking your eyes open if they've been closed. Sitting onto one side or the other, swinging your legs in front of you. Scooting a little closer to the top of our mat, we'll begin making our way back down. So we'll be on our backs for the rest of this practice. So if you want to grab a blanket or anything to have that nearby, you can go ahead and do so. When you're ready, making your way onto your back again, hugging your knees into your chest, giving a little rock from side to side. And your next inhale, dropping the left foot, knee points up, flexing into that right foot, crossing left or right ankle on top of left knee, coming into a reclined figure four. So as your right knee begins drawing towards the right side, maybe this is enough for you. Maybe you're already feeling this in your hips. If so, stay here. For more sensation, you can begin drawing that left knee in towards your chest, grabbing the underside of the thigh. Wherever you are, right foot is flexed and spine remains on the mat. Using your breath to soften deeper into this posture. And your next inhale, reconnecting that left foot with the mat. And as you exhale, keeping your legs in this figure four, but letting them fall to the left side. So left knee comes to the ground and right foot, right knee is still pointing up towards the ceiling. If your legs are sort of hanging in space, you can always bring a pillow or a yoga block underneath your right foot and left knee to bring the ground closer to you. Maybe you take the arms out to the side and gaze towards the right hand. So a little bit of a spinal twist and a little bit of a hip opening here. Your next inhale, slight engagement of the belly, keeping your legs in this figure four, bringing them back through center and coming into a counter twist. So keeping them in figure four, keeping them in figure four, letting them fall towards the right side. So now right ankle is helping draw that left knee closer to the floor. Maybe you take your gaze towards the left side. You always have the option to place something underneath your knees for extra support. Your next inhale, engaging the core, bringing both knees back through center. And exhale, hugging them in, giving a little rock side to side. And then hugging that left knee in, right foot plants on the mat, flexing into the left foot, crossing left ankle on top of right knee. Maybe you stay here if you are already feeling an opening in the left hip. For deeper sensation, you can begin drawing the right knee in towards your chest, grabbing the underside of the right thigh. Left foot is flexed. It's really important here to keep the whole spine on the mat. So if you notice your lower back or your shoulders lifting off of the mat, maybe you've gone too far, and take it back just a little. Still breathing deeply here. Maybe noticing if this side feels different than the right side, and having compassion for yourself with that. On your next inhale, right foot reconnects with the mat, and keeping your feet and your legs in this figure four, letting them fall towards the right side. So right knee and left foot connect with the mat. Left knee points up, gazing towards the left side. Sending your breath towards that left hip. If it's feeling tight or tense. On your next inhale, gently engaging the belly, lifting your legs up through center, keeping this figure four shape, letting them fall to the left side for a counter twist. The weight of the left ankle helping draw the right knee closer to the ground. Maybe taking your gaze to the right side. On your next inhale, bringing your knees back up through center. And exhale, hugging them in. We'll come into happy baby. So options here, you can grab the underside of your thighs, your calves, or the outsides of your feet. Drawing both knees in towards your armpits. What is most important here is that your spine stays on the ground. And so if your hands can't reach your feet, maybe you grab your calves or the underside of your thighs instead. Working just a little bit more here into the hips. You can give a little rock from side to side. But using your breath to gently go deeper. Maybe your knees come a little bit closer to your armpits. One more inhale here. And as you exhale, slowly letting that go, hugging your knees in. One final rock from side to side. Your next inhale, giving yourself a nice big hug. Forehead reaches towards your knees. Maybe pausing at the top of your inhale. And on your own time, when you are ready, exhaling, coming into final Shavasana. Legs extending long, arms long by the sides. Taking a moment to get as comfortable as possible. Maybe you cover yourself in a blanket or put on some socks. Or take any final little movements that you need to so that you can come into stillness here. I invite you to soften your gaze or close your eyes completely. and I'll guide us through a body scan. So continuing with your deep belly breathing, maybe take your attention to the top of your head. Maybe you can feel some of your hair. And slowly, so slowly moving your attention to your eyebrows and forehead. Can you soften them any more? Soften your eyes. Soften your cheekbones. Maybe take a moment to notice anything that you can hear. What else can you hear besides my voice through the screen? Release your jaw. Release the tongue from the roof of your mouth. Soften your throat, your collarbones, your shoulders. Working your way down the arms, can you soften your biceps and your triceps, your forearms, your hands, your palms, your fingers. Releasing more of the chest, softening your heart closer to the earth. Softening your shoulder blades, the upper part of your back, your ribs, moving your way down the spine, softening through your belly, through your pelvis, softening completely through the hips, through the tops of the thighs. Can you release more through your hamstrings, through your knees?